Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Petras.
That was from my past when I was working with adults with developmental disabilities, and one of the young men always would say that to me. And then I found out later that he was seeing spirits around me, and so I was more than one person to him. Yes. He started out by calling me everyone. He would say, "Good morning, everyone." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, Ernie, I'm only one person, but thank you." Anyway, I digress. Forgive me. My name is Petra, and I want to welcome you to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lakeland. I use the pronouns she and her. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful November morning. To those of you here in person and to those of you on Zoom or social media, we're glad to have you however you arrived. Please know that you belong here, whatever your gender identity, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, abilities, or theological beliefs. Unitarian Universalism is a loving and affirming faith in which we learn, grow, and co-create the sacred as a community. If you're new here, please know that we would love to get to know you better, so please join us after the service in the social hall or say hello on chat if you're on Zoom. Our e-newsletter is published every Wednesday, and it is the main source of information for UUCL. So please sign up and read all about what is happening here in our little community. We do have printed copies. They're available if you don't have internet. And there is one posted on the hallway bulletin board outside. So I would like to lift up a few items from the newsletter that serve our mission statement of love plus connection equals transformation. With the lower temperatures, another rise in COVID may be expected, so please use your best discretion in wearing masks for protection of yourself and others. As a reminder to those who are participating at this time in the small group ministry, this Wednesday at 10 a.m., the ministry will be led here in the sanctuary by Adam Hargrove, and then at 6:30, we'll have here in person by Heather Norby. And if you're not a member of the small group ministry yet and you're interested, if you'll talk to Heather, our spiritual life director, she will give you information about it. I want to thank everybody who participated in our Thanksgiving dinner here. It was lots of fun. And I want to remind everyone that on December 11th, after our services around 12:30, we will be having the auction. It's a silent auction, live auction, and that's lots of fun as well. And Dorothy is still accepting donations of goods and or services. On January 14th, we will be having our book fair. If you'll contact Gail Rushford about this, she can tell you more about that. On Sunday mornings, we have a discussion group. We have the discussion group in here, and we also have Sunday Seekers across the way. So if you're interested in that, that happens at 10 o'clock in the mornings. And we are still in need of greeters and ushers. All you have to do is go to our wonderful little newsletter. There's a spot there. You click on that. You can sign right up. It's easy as pie. And next week, Heather will be here. She's been off on Thanksgiving vacation, like many of us have. So, I'd like for us to center ourselves and change now. So get comfortable in your seat. Close your eyes if you'd like. Remember that change is constant. It's the only constant. Think about how you receive change. When do you welcome it? When do you resist it? Our quote for this month is by Octavia Butler from Parable of the Sower, and it says, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you." The only lasting truth is change. God is change. So let's breathe in that change and out. And think about what Octavia Butler means when she says God is change? How does this fit into your spiritual beliefs or theological path, if it does? And now I would like to read Change by Wendy Vidlock. Change is the new, improved word for God, lovely enough to raise a song or implicate a sea of wrongs, mighty enough, like other gods, to shelter, bring us together, and estrange us. Please, God, we seem to say, change us. In the tradition of our Unitarian Universalist faith, we will light our chalice, and I would like to welcome everyone to arise in body or spirit to join us in singing and signing Spirit of Life while Maggie lights our chalice for us today. Thank you very much for that. Now, I would like, well, you see, I was doing that whole story about Ernie because I had my pages all in a mess. So hopefully, I would now like to invite all those young at heart. I just saw Kidling walk in. All those young at heart to please join me here at the what? Oh, is that what we're seeing? I told you. We were supposed to do that. But aren't we supposed to, we're supposed to sing?
Yeah, children and
Well, maybe we were supposed to sing when we were gathered before, I think.
that was at the beginning of the service.
So we missed it.
Okay. It's changing.
It is. I will force change upon you, whether you like it or not. So you could even come sit up here. Sit right up here on the stage with me. Because in our service today, we are going to hear about change and how it can help us in our lives. But sometimes it's helpful to at least remember how things were. Thank you, Presley. There you go. All right, I'm hearing reverberation up here, so I'm not sure what that is. All right, so everyone up here, who knows what special holiday is coming? We just had Thanksgiving. What's coming? Thanksgiving. We just did that one, sweetie. What's coming up?
Aren't the frogs supposed to
Christmas, huh?
Aren't the frogs supposed to dance?
The frogs? Yeah. The frogs are going to dance. Of course they are. Always.
Hanukkah?
Hanukkah, yeah, that's coming too. But Christmas is on the way. So can anybody tell me what that means to them? What's it mean to you? Time with your family. Fantastic. Anybody else? Toy. Yes, yes, yes. Well, Santa Claus and presents have become a very big part of Christmas. But for many people of other religions, there's a story of Jesus' birth, which is celebrated at this time of year. And for those that celebrate the season in this way, they light what we call Advent candles for 4 Sundays prior to December 25th. The word Advent comes from the Latin term adventus, meaning arrival or coming, particularly, not yet, particularly the coming of something having great importance. So these candles symbolize the time spent awaiting Jesus' birth. Each candle holds a different meaning. The first Sunday is hope, the second is love, then peace, and finally joy. The theme of Advent is finding the sacred in every day. It's all about taking time to prepare, spend time with your family, anticipate, and become ready. So in addition to lighting candles, families very often have Advent calendars on which a different surprise is revealed each of the 24 days of Advent. Here at UUCL, in accordance with our third principle, which requires all to actively engage in ensuring conditions are supportive for all to thrive, Heather has created a kind of reverse Advent calendar that encourages each of us to share with those who are less fortunate. So each one of the families is going to get an Advent calendar today. Our young men here are going to help pass them out. One person from each family, please raise your hand so he can see who to give a calendar to. And these, we all want to work together as a family as part of our Christmas time together to collect items on this calendar so that Dorothy Lemmy and Ken Schmidt can distribute those in Lakeland, to those in Lakeland who are less fortunate. So, you little children, ask your parents to help you get all these things together so that you can help support other people who are less fortunate than you.
And there's a container in the hallway.
There is a container in the hallway in which you can also just drop things off, and then you don't have to contact anybody. So now, I'm going to read, this is adapted from David Breeden. And this is the first Sunday of Advent. So this first Sunday, we light the flame of hope in hope that darkness will be dispelled. In this holiday season, may the darkness of winter be dispelled in this festival of lights. And may the darkness of ignorance be dispelled in the strength of compassion, reason, and sharing. And now we have come to the time when we will honor the weaving of joys and sorrows that flow throughout all of our lives. Let us recognize the complexities of the world and our very human way of belonging to it all. Take a moment to breathe in. Reflect on all that has happened this week in your life and around this sacred earth of ours. We engage in this ritual every week as a way to face the world together and as a way to heal, knowing that we are not alone. We invite you up to the chalice table. Mary's going to start us off here on this side so that everybody can see, just start out on the side. And actually, if you ladies want to take them off right after this, that would be great. So come up to the chalice table, drop a pebble in the bowl of water for the joys and sorrows that you carry with you today. And if you're on Zoom, we'll say your name and drop a pebble for you so that we know we are all together and connected, striving towards wholeness. While our musicians play for us.
And today on Zoom, we have Ali Parvaz, Daniel Wagner, Helen Dingus, and Judy Bell.
I love to watch the starlings. With us this morning, we have Andy Quinn with the Lakeland Insight Meditation Group. We are, as he wanted me to say, brothers and sisters in our building here. They share the space across the hall every Wednesday evening. So you might want to check that out some Wednesday evening. And Andy is going to speak to us today, as I said, about change and how we can find happiness aligning with the truth of change.
Good morning. So change, I was contemplating this talking, and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, let me notice the change before I give this talk, and then during this talk, and then after the talk, and see what that's like, you know, because it's always changing. The mind and body is always in flux. So this truth of change is happening incessantly. The illusion is that what we perceive as happening has already passed. Yet understanding this truth can bring us so much happiness, relieving ourselves of the false assumption that our happiness is based on conditions outside of ourselves. And here's a quote from the Buddha, and I want to read at the very end of this part of it. He says, or with a faithful heart observes the rules of morality, or develops a mind full of loving kindness, far more meritorious is it if one cultivates a perception of impermanence, be it only for a moment. So in other words, what he's saying is, this understanding this impermanence at a subtle level is actually more important than developing a mind of loving kindness. So on the macro level, you know, it's easy to understand change. Like COVID, for example. How many of us really like COVID, and how many of us really, really liked it when COVID was over, allegedly? Politics. We've been through a lot of change of politics. It's very difficult on our hearts. And also climate change. All these things are changing, but it's very difficult for us to accept these changes. So this is the macro level. So this is a quote also that comes from the Buddha, but this is hard to read here, but this is what's called the 5 remembrances. And I'm going to sum it up, but basically we're all of the nature to grow old. Everybody here is going to grow old. We're all going to get sick. We have no control over that. We can't control getting old. We can't control getting sick or not getting sick. I'm the nature to die. You didn't know this talk was going to be kind of a bummer, right? Well, the talk will be over soon, right? So I'm the nature to die. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are the nature to change. I was on a 13-day self-retreat, and my wife came to visit me, and I just happened to finish reading these remembrances, and she left. She was just going to stay with me a half hour. She left, and I just sobbed because she's so in my heart, but also that part of me, I'm going to lose her, and I know I'm going to lose her. I know to a pretty good degree. Not completely, but everything that we love we're going to be separated from. And believe it or not, these truths can really help us in happiness. They really help us to open up to happiness. So let's do this for a moment. I want to do a guided reflection, and if you would like to gently close your eyes, and this will last for about a minute or two. And at the end of the 2 minutes, I'll ring a bell. Now what I want you to do is just consider something that's been difficult for you to accept. Don't make it traumatic. Don't go into some big, deep pain. Just something recently that's been very difficult for you to accept. And then I want you to contemplate if you were going to lose the most important thing to you in your life within the next year. Let's suppose you're going to lose the most important thing in your life in the next year. How would that change the way that you act? How would you change the way that you would behave? And as you're in the midst of contemplating this difficulty, and then also how you would behave, see if you can use this as a mantra to yourself. Just a little mantra. If you can just say to yourself, life is not perfect. Life is not perfect. Life is not permanent. And life is not personal. Life is not perfect. Life is not permanent. And life is not personal. Just noticing how the bell changes. The sound of the bell changes. The effect on your eardrum, change, 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 change. So I'm just curious if anybody wanted to share anything with that. Just suppose you lost the most important thing in your life. If you knew that, if you had that knowledge, how would you act going forward? Yeah, Sonny. Hey,
Yes.
Sonny.
I was thinking during that whole thing, I lost the most important thing in my life. And I knew I was gonna lose it. So from personal experience, I will tell you that so many stupid little things don't bother you anymore. You know, you don't care that they chew too loud, or, you know, that their mother is crazy, or, you know, any of that other kind of stuff. So it does weed out the big things, and it makes you grateful for everything. So, you know, now going forward, I don't know, I've had a hard time thinking about losing another thing, so I kind of went back for that one. But it matters. Being aware matters.
So changed your perception, right?
Yes.
And you ended up having more gratitude.
Right.
How? Well,
And I quit thinking, oh, you could, you know, you're not that bad, you know, get up and go, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, it
So
changes everything.
you've increased your awareness.
Mhm.
Yeah. How about that? And your loss was huge. I know your loss. It was
Yes.
huge. Yeah. Huge loss.
Andy, can you explain what it means by life is not personal?
Yeah, we're going to get to that, but we're going to get to that in just a second. Is it okay if I just pause there? Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. Anybody else want to share? Thanks, Sonny. That was awesome. So, on the macro level, it's obvious, but on the micro level, it's not so obvious. You know, everybody probably is very aware that the way we see this body is an illusion. Scientists have said that there's atomic particles arising and passing away at approximately 10 to the 22nd times. That's 10 times itself, 22nd times. Also, from the time that we take in a piece of sense information like sight, smell, taste, sound, touch, and thinking, from the time that information comes in to the time that we experience something on the body is 10 to the minus third of a second, 0.001 of a second. It's amazing that we can do anything because things are happening so quickly. But we're under this illusion of solidity in the mind. So, but then the problem is that when change happens, you know, COVID happens, we lose somebody, somebody cuts us off in traffic, then we act surprised. You know, it's like, we all know this, right? Everybody in here was aware of change, right? But then when things don't go our way, then all of a sudden we get aggravated with it, and, you know, upset by it. Well, how come that is? Well, because there's this investment in this slideshow in our mind. It's like we take in a piece of information, and the piece of information through thought and emotion gets projected onto consciousness. And like folks that are a little older like me remember how old animation worked, right? It's like Mickey Mouse. Here's how Mickey Mouse was done. We draw Mickey and doing this, and then the next slide was Mickey's doing this, and the next slide Mickey's doing this, right? And what do people do? They play this really, really quick in the mind, and it gives this illusion of solidity. That's what's happening in the mind. It's just the information is coming in so fast, it looks like it's something solid. Not only that, we have practiced the same type of thinking and the same type of emotion every day. And so what's happening in the mind, even if the information is unpleasant, like anger, There's people that like their anger, and people like their joy, right? We get really attached to the story and the emotions. They really define who we think that we are. So, in other words, what's happening in the mind becomes very compelling. And then what happens is something bumps up against that because what? Life isn't perfect. It just isn't. Things bump up against it, and we become dissatisfied. And then what do? We take it personally because it doesn't fit this illusion of solidity in the mind. So what do? We take what's impermanent to be permanent, right? And we take what's impersonal to be personal. It doesn't match up. And this is really the source of dissatisfaction. So in meditation community, what we're doing is we're noticing this change on more and more subtle level. More and more subtle level. And just accepting it. And the mantra that I gave you is a very nice skill to have on the macro level, but even on the micro level. Life isn't personal, life isn't permanent, and life isn't perfect. You can say that when you're in awareness, it can really help you to bypass a big chunk of unhappiness. So watching the mind is like watching a river. I mean, if you're on a bridge, a very tall bridge, right, and you look at the river, it looks very, very solid from a distance. But if you look closer within the river, there's objects in the river. But the problem is perception without awareness gives this illusion of solidity. So we don't look closer. Actually, the mind is really kind of lazy. And it actually kind of stupid. Because we don't want to look closer. We're creature of habits. We like the way we think. We like the way our emotions, unless something bumps against us and we decide, wow, maybe I ought to reevaluate that. But we still want to go back to our narrative because that defines who I am. And then we have to kind of adjust our mind. If it's a big loss, like Sonny's talking about, we have to adjust who we are with big losses like that. Right? But even with her, she would say that it didn't fit my narrative. It didn't fit my story. All right? So let's do another little quick reflection, one more reflection. So if you want to just gently close your eyes. And this is going to be, might be a challenge for you to do this. About 1 minute of this, okay? And what I want you to do is see if you can't count the number of different thoughts you have. Count the number of different thoughts you have. Yeah. 1 minute of this. In just a moment, I'm going to ring the bell. And notice the changing bell. Was anybody able to keep up? How many thoughts did you come up with? 18, yeah. And remember, I thank you for that. Remember, 10 to the minus third of a second. So every moment we take in information. And in this psychology, thought is a sense portal. You notice you can just have a thought by itself, right? And it activates something else, right? A thought about food after this, and then something starts rolling, right? Right, from there. Anybody else count? 18, thank you, Jeanette. 60. Man, 60, yeah. Anybody else? 60. Anybody else? How many? Who said 77? Nice, 77. So, you know, sometimes what happens though is we make trains of association, right? We have one thought and it leads to the next one, leads to the next one. It's like boxcars together in a train. So, what can help you with this? There's something called mindfulness, but actually a better word for today might just be awareness, but awareness with some type of objectivity to the experience. And here's the thing about it is, learning how to be aware of change, it's a really nice skill to be just aware of what thinking is for a day. Just to be aware of thinking. You know, and just sit with that, because if you can do that, if you try to take everything in, the mind is so overwhelmed by all this sensory information, sight, touch, taste, sound, smell, etc., right? But if you just be aware maybe of thinking for a day, it can help you to also notice the subtlety of change at deeper levels. Another thing that's really powerful in this is to also, whatever the experience is, whether the experience is pleasant or unpleasant, to learn how to move towards the experience. We call this befriending the experience. Actually, we talk a lot about interdependence, but the word that I like for this, besides befriending, is interconnection. The ability to be connected with all experience, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. This can also help us to get in touch with this change. Because often we just want to avoid the unpleasant. Learning how to accept when things are unpleasant. Have you ever noticed this before? That often the things that I'm struggling with, I haven't accepted. In other words, if I'm not accepting something, that means I probably haven't befriended it or connected with it. Whatever the emotion is, anger, grief, whatever it is, how can I move towards the emotion and befriend? And that, you know, something like Sunny's talk about, that can literally be years. But other experiences that we don't get our way, if we can move towards the experience and join the experience, and the best way to do that is in the body. What is the response of the body to the experience? How does this help you? All these things help you because you become less reactive and more responsive. So this mantra about not perfect, not personal, not permanent, what that can help you to do is just remove yourself a little bit from the experience. It gives you a little bit more openness and a little bit more receptivity. And when we have that, it's much easier to be available to other people, to be more understanding of other people, to be more present for other people. And then what happens, because of this less reactivity, more responsiveness, we become much more relaxed and stable in the midst of storms. And a real marker to people's progress is, how do we do when a storm comes down? Like, you know, I'm talking about an emotional storm with your spouse, right? Or your children. How do we do with that? Right, that can help a whole lot, all right? So, the point is that with this, learning how to see impermanence, we can see the richness in all experience. When I first started this journey, I was crying hard over some woman, right? I mean, I didn't know her that long. I was sobbing about some woman. And my therapist told me, he looked at me and he said, he was my meditation teacher, he said, Andy, you need to learn how to find richness in your sorrow. I was stunned by that. I didn't know, I had never heard of a concept like that. But that's what this does. The more we can turn towards and notice this change, the more we can let go, open up, and we'll have a deeper richness to our life. Thank you.
Still don't know what I was waiting for. My time was running wild, million dead-end streets. And every time I thought I got it made, seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others must see the faker. How much too fast to take that test? Turn and face the strange changes. Don't want to be a richer man. Turn and face the strange changes. You're gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Yeah. Watch ripples change their size, but never leave the stream of warm impermanence. So the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same. And these children that you spit on, as they try to change their worlds, are immune to your consultation. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Turn and face the strange changes. Don't let them tell you grow up and out of it. Turn and face the strange changes. Where's your shame? You left us up to our neck in it. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Our changes are taking the pace I'm going through. Turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Turn and face the strange changes. Pretty soon now you're gonna get older. Time won't change me. I can't trace time. I said that time may change me. I can't trace time.
We have now come upon the moment when we can share our treasures with this community as an act of faith. When we each give what we can back to life, we serve a greater good, helping to create a world which is shaped by our good acts and acts of courage. This is from The Shift by Melody Godfred. Smile and let go. It's just life after all, and you're doing it right just by living. So, we have now come to an early end of our service. Let us extinguish the chalice. Dorothy, would you extinguish the chalice for us while we say the words on the screen there? We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Thank you, Moody. So go now with peace, opening yourself to the liberation of change with the hope of more freedom and joy in the richness of all of life. And remember, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are a blessing. Thank you all for being here this morning. Oh, yeah.